I'd like to thank everybody for your attendance at this stakeholders meeting for the city's new ice arena. This meeting is intended to be a forum for both city to present the current plans on this new facility to you, and also to hear your questions and comments and input that we will consider as the plans for this facility develop. And we have our design team here with us. Before I turn it over to the design team, just want to introduce, so there's a city staff project management team. I'd like to introduce a few of them. Sitting up front, sitting over in the second row is our Assistant City Manager, John Fistwater. Sally Hine is our Director of Community Services. Her Assistant Director, Nick Spurgeon, is here. Our current ice arena manager, Carrie Robertson, is here. Byron Matthews is here someplace, way in the back. And that's our project management team. A couple other city staff people are here, Maddie Bezerto and the Deputy Chief in the back there. So I'm George Stefanos, I'm the Public Works Director for the city. And what I'm going to do in just a second is turn this over to our design consultants. This is a team. Hughes Group Architect is the design consultant that we have contracted with. They're partnered with Andrus Architecture, who's expertise is in ice arenas. And they have a few presentations. They're not real long. And I think I'll just let up to them. There's not a huge crowd, decide when you want to break for questions and comments and that kind of thing. Is that all right? So I will turn it over to Keith.
Thank you, George. Well, welcome, everybody. I am Keith Driscoll with Hughes Group Architects. I'm the project architect for this project. Elo Alpha with Hughes Group, he is the lead designer. And then Robert Andrus, Andrus Architecture, is giving us the specialty in ice arena and facilities associated with that. We'll go through site development, floor plan, the exterior building, the massing, and the interior spaces. So after this, you'll have a pretty good idea of what the site's going to look like, what the proposed layout for the facility is, and what the architecture is going to look like on the outside. At this point, we are in the early phases of schematic design, which at the end of schematic design will be about 15% of the way through the design process. So we'll get preliminary pricing at that point and really start to shape what it's going to take to get this project through permit requirements and site development. The site plan, everybody's familiar with it, is here along Church Road. Route 50 is right to the south of it. The airport is right on the other side of 50, across from the overpass. Site's relatively flat, but does have one encumbrance in that there have been some wetlands that are identified across the northeast of the site. So the site plan that we are looking at has the facility in this lower corner, two main ice rinks, and the main entry of the building right here. So you enter off of Church Road. We've got a good view right to the building. Anybody that's dropping somebody off for practice or picking somebody up can circulate around and drop off lane and then exit, or if you drop somebody off and then go around to park. There are about 250 paved parking spots, and then we have left room in the undeveloped portion of the site to access it here and here for overflow parking during large events. The other thing we've crafted the site around is future development and the ability to expand this facility to the west. If additional program gets added, basketball courts or indoor rec, there's the ability to be able to reuse some of the facilities that are in here, administrative space, restrooms, meeting rooms, and supplement that with some additional programming. Site plan wise, for everybody who's interested, this is the high side of the site. It slopes this way. As we're developing things, we'll be integrating stormwater management over on the low side of the site. Service access for deliveries, trash, mechanical, all comes around the back. There's also a continuous way around the building. First views of the exterior. We'll get into the design of this a little bit more, but this is the main entry to the building, so the view from the front. This is the view from the back. This would be an elevated view from like over Route 50. Robert? So we switched the plans on you. Now the main entry of the building is here. This parking lot that I was showing was down here.
Thanks. All right. We usually look at it from the back of the house forward, but we think along the lines of Carrie and Randy, but we'll go from the front back here. This area right here is the entry vestibule, airlock, and then the lobby space. Number 2 here is the check-in, where you would pay when you come in. Offices right in here. And then this area here would be the estate rental area and estate changing. So if you're coming in to a public skate, quite simply, you'll come in, you'll pay, you go over here, get your skates, and you go out onto the ice over here. Going further down the left side of the page here, we have men's and women's toilet rooms, and then 2 party rooms that are rented out and have a dividing according partitions so that they can be one big room or 2 smaller rooms. To the right, as you come in, is a seating area. It's sort of a gathering node for the ability to have concessions or to sit and watch the game from the warm side. And right here is the concessions area, and to the left, number 10, is the pro shop. So if you're coming in to enjoy the festivities or to watch somebody participate, you come in, check in, and then go to the respective ice sheet. It's very simple, logical design. You come in, you can see everything you need to see. I should back up and say, we had 2 boys. My wife's in the audience tonight too. She traveled with me from Michigan, and both of our boys played, and our oldest one played travel hockey. So we live this life. If there's hockey people out there, we know it. And the first thing for us as users, and I look at it as a user and also as an architect. So as a user, the first thing you do, you hit a rink, is you need to know where are the locker rooms for my kid, where are the bathrooms, where's the coffee. I mean, that's really the mentality that we had. So we're very cognizant of that and careful about this. You check in, you see here, the toilet rooms are here, and then the rinks. It's pretty straightforward. And of course, the coffee. Now, as a user, you enter into the respective side, come down the side here, then we have these cross corridors. There are 8 conventional locker rooms and 2 alternate locker rooms. You need 4 locker rooms per sheet of ice. That's what we call our sheets. So for each rink, you need 4 locker rooms. The logic is you have 2 teams out there playing, and then the 2 that are transitioning are coming in to change. So there's a crossover in there. So that's why you need 8, if anybody is curious. Now, why we have 10 with the 2 alternates is, in this day and age, there's a lot of young ladies that are playing, or even women in a mixed sex league. So we have to accommodate the fair sex. So what we do is, if you have an all-girls team, it's easy. They can just go into one of the regular 8 locker rooms. When you have those crossovers, then you need to accommodate those young ladies. So that's why we have the alternate locker rooms. They can also be used for special teams or special events. So there's a lot of flexibility in there for Carrie and Randy to schedule around. In the front here, so we've got an alternate locker room here, we've got storage in the sides, and we have the 4 locker rooms here and 4 here. Why we have them in the cross corridors is that allows flexibility for them to schedule for the locker room participants to go to either side of the ice. Gives them a lot of flexibility. Coming back here is the second alternate locker room, and then we have 2 referee rooms, and they're put in the back to keep them away from the public. This is the Zamboni room. So there's a pit back in there like they have now, so they'll be dumping their snow right inside the building, and they'll be able to cross over back and forth between the 2 sheets of ice. Finishing off the back here is a nice refrigeration plant, a mechanical room, electrical room, and a couple of storage rooms that are invaluable in these scenarios. The current plan shows seating for about 200 on the left rink and about 500 on the right. Right, Keith? So this will be the primary venue for the larger events. And that's one of the reasons why we have the skate rental and skate changing over on the left side. When you have a public skating, that's typically in your off rink. If you're going to have one rink that's bigger capacity seating versus the other, you put that in the off side. So that's why those functions are on the left side in this layout. Real quick run through, does that make sense?
Very much so.
Going forward a little bit into the locker room scenario. Again, you're a hockey dad, so I was like, I had goalies. I had 2 goalies. You got goalies? Okay, we got to talk. You know that actually both of ours started at mini mite with goalies. So you're in there putting the leg pads on. I was in so many rinks where there was not enough room for the mini mites to be in there, let alone the dads putting on the goalie pads and everybody else needing help lacing up the skates. We've done, I forgot how many now, we're over 20 rinks, so we got a tried and true size that works for these locker rooms. And this particular layout has been built several times, and I can attest that it works. It works all the way from the mini mice up to the adult men's league. So each of the locker rooms has their own private toilet showering area. We have done some toilet rooms that are shared between locker rooms at the request of owners. It really creates a lot of problems. The problem is, in order to have wallets, keys, and expensive equipment secured, you need to lock the doors. Building code, fire code doesn't allow you to lock the doors. So it's a real fight between what's allowed and what you can do and maintaining honest people. So these all have their own. They're currently being shown detailed where we're going to have individual showers. So we got away from the group showers in the scheme. It doesn't show up here. But they're each self-contained and they work. We even give you a marker board, a dry erase board on the wall with a hockey rink on it. So if you're a coach, you're all set. Bring your dry erase marker, you're good to go. Do we want to do the questions later or is it go?
Yeah, there's a couple of large plans.
Oh, okay. So I gotta go forward?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do I point? Here?
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, a little bit more below here, you can see a little bit better detail. Here's the other thing we do, hockey people can appreciate. These center doors are going to be bipartite. So you're not, and the city will like it because the aluminum storefront doors will not get beat up like they would otherwise with sticks. We all know what kids do. They put the sticks often in the bag on top of it or they carry them and they just walk through those doors. The bags are big, they're heavy, they bang on the doors, they scratch it, and then eventually that anodized finish gets scraped off. So with the biparting doors, we found that works wonders in keeping the building looking fresh and not having a maintenance issue. There's a little data room here, there's another data room in the back I can speak of. The number 8 is actually a skate sharpening room right off from the skate rental for Carrie Rainey's group. We haven't fully developed the office area with them yet, but we'll have some lockers across here for the skate rental and some movable benches for the skate changing area. Any questions on? Yes, ma'am.
Where's the music room?
The music room?
Yeah, for the figure skaters.
A music room.
Well, someplace to play it,
For the sound
broadcast.
system.
Sound system.
Oh, typically what that's done now is it's actually done at the scores table in the tee boxes. So right up along here, I didn't speak
Show
about
me where that is.
Yep, I didn't speak on that. I apologize. On each rink here, what we do is there's a ramp here that comes up, and then there's a flat area, so you have access, very free access. You've probably never seen an ice rink that has handicap access to the scorers table, the penalty boxes, and the players' benches, and behind the players' bench, have you? I'm guessing not.
No, the players not on both sides. No, you're right.
We do that because it truly is the intent of the ADA law. So we've been doing that forever.
We got sled hockey now too, so that's.
And we've done a sled hockey facility. We did in Long Island, New York. We actually did sled hockey area where they have clear plexiglass in the front. They peel off on the side, and they can sit on synthetic ice, plastic ice, and look through the clear dashboards, knowing it's a line shift. So that could be done. So that's what you see. I'm sorry, I get excited, so I get distracted on this. So these are ramps coming up to the back side. This is a team box where the players will sit. Next to that is the penalty box, and then that little spot right there is the scorer's box. And that's typically where the AV system is controlled these days, and it's Wi-Fi now. So whatever speaker systems and lighting you're going to have for figure skaters, it'll go there. And those alternative locker rooms, that's also for figure skaters.
I don't care that much about figure skaters, but there's certain people that know that know me. Okay, but I do have a question. You said you've done this similar design in other locations.
The locker rooms, yes.
Where are the Long Island one? I'm familiar with it.
Several in Michigan. I can get you a list.
Is that USA Hockey?
We actually did USA Hockey. If you know about them as a governing entity, we did their facility
That's what I'm
twice.
asking you. Did you?
We did their facility.
You had to
We did their
redo it
facility.
the second time, or did you know?
Well, what they did is we did it in Ann Arbor for them back in,
Right.
I want to say 94, 95-ish,
Right, I'm familiar with
96.
that, yeah.
I'm sorry?
I'm familiar with
Okay.
that.
Then they ended up buying, ironically, they bought a very large facility in Greater Detroit that we also designed, and then they hired us, CompuWare, which used to be where the Whalers played. They're
Right.
next team down. Then they hired us to renovate that to bring their our national team across to play out of there. So we actually renovated or designed twice for them. But theirs is a little bit different because they have very customized lockers. We did custom cubicles, and they had a little bit more money, and it's for them versus for the general public.
Okay, one final question, then I'll shut up, maybe. What is the biggest complaint you get from your customers or your, the owners, whatever? I mean, do you have any standard complaint about the layout?
It's funny you mentioned that. One of the things that Keith and I had a conversation the other day. He's very good. They're very good about going back and talking to former users about their buildings a year later. And I've recently reached out to some of ours because that's not necessarily something I've been very good at, and it's a fault of mine. But I would say that based on the fact that we just redid USA for them, and there were no complaints, it was a matter of let's bring it up to something that's 20 years newer now. And I recently reached out to a project we did in 2003. And it's similar in nature, very similar. That's why I chose that one. It's called Georgetown. And it's in Western Michigan. And it's a two-sheet facility, very similar to this as far as concept. And I called the ring manager and said, after all these years, what would you do different? And he had one complaint. He said he had seen some of our other rinks that had a second floor. And he said, I'd love to have a second floor to overlook. And I explained to him there's a lot of cost ramifications. And to do it now with a building code that's changed, it's cost prohibitive. But I took pride in that building is 24 years old. And that was his only complaint, of something that was never a factor, never something we discussed. So we're pretty proud of how we got this. There's a lot of nuances to these rinks that anybody that spends much time in hockey rinks, I can go into at a level of specificity that probably bore most of you. But for example, the doors, getting in the locker rooms, a conventional door in a public building is 3 feet wide. We do 3.5 feet. They're usually hollow metal painted in an ice rink. They get beat up. We do what's called an FRP, and it's that dimply product you see like in a, it's a bad analogy, but for example, in a McDonald's kitchen, at a wall panel, it's got that dimple to it, highly durable. We use those doors, and they come in some great colors. We put rubber all over the place, so we're very cognizant. There's no ceilings in the locker rooms. We paint out the structure above, and then we have wall-mounted light fixtures that are very penal, meaning institutional. They're hard to beat up. So what all that means is that not just on day one, but year 5, year 10, the building still looks fresh and good without a tremendous amount of maintenance. Because you got a lot of kids in there that, I mean, they're physical. They're young men with weapons in their hands, quite frankly. So those are good questions.
Quick question on design then. With the open ceiling concept, what do you do for soundproofing between locker rooms?
We take the walls all the way up. And our traditional detail is concrete block, cinder block, as many of you would refer to it up, say 10 or 12 feet, and then transitions where it needs to be durable. And then we simply paint that out in epoxy paint. Again, very durable product. A few pennies more on application, but durable. Above that is painted drywall on stick framing or metal framing with insulation in it. And then where that hits, why we do that is, it's like more expensive to take the block all the way up, and then you have to cut the block around the structure and the ductwork and the pipes. So it's more economical to stop that and go with the drywall above a point when the kids really are going to be interested in doing any damage.
Well, I understand the damage is more of, I know sometimes when opposing teams get side by side, they're trying to talk to each other over the top. So
You really can't in these, because even where the roof deck hits, that gets clogged. And now that Randy and Carrie are going to have 10 locker rooms, they're going to be able to schedule opposing teams not next to each other. They're going to have some flexibility there. These locker rooms are approximately twice the size of what is in the current facility. It's not even close. Yes, sir.
Will the alternate locker rooms also have private bathrooms?
Yes, they have their own. Yes. And what we've done is in 4 of the locker rooms of the 8 main ones. Oh, there is. Yeah. Where did I point last time?
Keep going, keep going.
Oh, I see. More?
Yeah. Keep them going.
Oh,
Oh,
There.
farther.
Further, one more?
Yeah, one more. You're funny, bud. There.
Ah. Okay. What we do is in the placement, I won't get into the detail of that, but 4 of the 8 public locker rooms have 2 water closets in them. That's our term for toilets, okay? The other 4 have a toilet and a urinal. Urinals are much more beneficial for males because for maintenance reasons, it cleans up much better. It's not as much to clean up. But we're giving 4 of them that have the double water closets because then they can be used for girls' teams, women's teams, without having a urinal in there. So in theory, between those 4 and the alternate rooms, Carrie and Randy have the capacity of having 6 women's teams running through here. So they can actually run a women's tournament without compromising, on both sheets, without compromising the women having to have a locker room with a urinal. So that's the level of thought that goes into this. Yes, they have their own showers, their own toilets up there, and it's really with the mindset of the up-and-coming women's programs, young ladies programs. Man, you had a question?
Yeah, what is one of the closer facilities that we could go to take a look at it?
Of something that we've worked on? There's
Yeah.
not anything really close to here, unfortunately. I've got some work on Long Island, a couple rinks in Long Island, but that's probably the closest to here. My apologies. We've done some renovation work in New Jersey, but the renovation work, it's not really the same.
So it's mainly like up in Michigan and...
We've done some work in, we've got a project currently in Indianapolis, but we've done work in Montana, a lot in Michigan, Illinois, some work up in Connecticut that's right now that hasn't been completed either, upstate New York as well. So I apologize. I can share, if you want to stick around after, I can share some photographs I have in my laptop of some other facilities, if that makes sense. If you want to grab me. Anything else right now? Keith, if I missed anything you thought I should hit?
No.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have questions about the facility, but I've got quite a number of questions about the project itself in terms of the planning process. So will there be discussions about that this evening?
In terms of site development or?
Yes.
Yes,
Ask you?
that would be me.
Okay. All right. Have you already submitted your mandatory referral package?
No, we have not.
And I don't know if it was you, but we had a couple of representatives. I live in Fairwood. I live and work in Fairwood. And as you know, these 20 acres abuts our development on the east side of Church Road. Really abuts it. And so my concern is, I have a number of concerns, like, for instance, will there be an impact study for traffic, for stormwater management, all the kinds of things that usually have to get approved through the county? Will that still?
We are just in the early phases where we've positioned the program elements on the site, and we're just now reaching out to the different county agencies that have jurisdiction over these parts to talk to them about stormwater management and traffic impacts.
So what is the approval process for this then?
It will have to go through a full site plan approval. We'll start with mandatory referral, and then moves through the different agencies.
I have another concern, and that was that the representative that came to speak to our HOA meeting spoke of annexation of that plot. And I am a bit concerned about that. Why annex it? The person that came said something about so that the city of Bowie could provide police service, but that doesn't hold for it. That makes no sense.
That I'll have to let George speak
Yeah,
to.
and that was, our planning director was actually running in a little bit late. He was planning on being here, but that was the planning director and myself who were at your meeting.
Okay.
And the annexation is for that reason. It gives the city authority to police the property. That's really the primary reason behind that.
Well, let me ask you this. Prince George's County Police services that unincorporated area in our community, and they seem to do a fine job. That seems to be a very peculiar reason for annexation.
Well, let me
and it's
go-
not contiguous either.
Let me help you out there.
Okay.
Well, this is a city facility on city property. It will be on property. And standards of law enforcement in Bowie compared to the county is significantly more intense. We cover more area, we have more police officers per per capita, and our response time is exceptionally quicker. Also, since the facility would be a city facility on city property, in order to be accountable for the physical security of it, we'd have to have our police do it. Therefore, we could guarantee we do it right.
Okay, let me ask this, so will you be working in concert, because Fairwood is not policed by the city of Fairwood?
Well, I know that.
Okay, and I want to make sure, and the police officers would be made aware of that too, because you're right there.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
You're right in our backyard.
Well, I'm aware of that also.
Okay. The other thing is I wanted to ask, maybe you can answer this, what kind of buffers are planned for this? Because again, you abut our community. What kind of buffers are planned?
So getting back to the start, with the wetlands, actually pretty substantial buffers, because we are not doing any development to the other side of the wetlands. So this, on this scale, this distance here across that wetlands is a little over 100 feet.
Yeah, I can't tell by your map, so where are?
Your neighborhood is up here.
Okay, and so.
This is, where the stormwater pond is?
Not on the other side, so, okay, I'm used to looking at another map, I was looking at,
So this is Church, and this is Route 50.
Where's 50?
Right here.
Right there.
Across
Okay.
the bottom.
Okay. All right, so you're saying that the blue area that's shaded, well, the blue area is what? What's that?
Those are wetlands, so
Okay.
we're not able to develop in there without consequence as far as being, and having to remediate the impact.
And then
of
the other
wetlands.
blue area is some type of reforestation or something too?
That's a stream.
There's a stream, the property line is right here. Just north of that property line, there's a small stream and a stream buffer that runs through there. And then these are I think these are largely undeveloped. I think there's some development that happens down here. But that's the adjacent property.
Right, that's us.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm in Fairwood as well, and I'm concerned about the traffic, because if you know that area, people come flying over the bridge across 50, going 45, 50, 60 miles an hour past Fairwood. In fact, once they pass the airport, that's when they begin to accelerate. And this is literally not even right at the bottom of that overpass. You're going to enter right into this ice rink. So, what kind of traffic calming can be put in there? Because it's going to be tough for people to take a left-hand turn going back out Church Road towards, I guess that's to the south. It's a really odd location for a site. I'm wondering why it was chosen given what traffic is like there.
George, as far as site selection,
I missed that last part of the question. I'm sorry, I missed the last part of your question.
I'm concerned about, I try and get out on Church Road every single morning, every single night. I've got a business in Bowie. It's tough getting out of Fairwood and taking a left-hand turn.
Right.
It's going to be even tougher getting out of the ice rink because you got cars flying, going north on Church, right over 50, and the ice rink is that really sharp right after it. So I'm curious why you chose the location, but B, I'm curious what can be done about traffic calming so you don't end up with that being like accident central.
Yeah, so the traffic calming on Church Road is not something that city would have authority to do. Church Road is a county maintained road, and so that any sort of measures on Church Road would be something to deal with the county on. In terms of the site,
So that doesn't have anything to do with this project? I mean,
No.
it would seem to me that you would want to work with the county.
absolutely. So in this project, as was asked earlier about approval process. So this is the city doesn't have authority to go build things without county permits, just like any other developer. We're a developer in this case. So just like any development, we have to go through the same process as anybody about impacts on roads and all those kind of things. So those processes, like we said, we're early in the process. They haven't been done yet, but they have to be done. And so that kind of review process and all will occur as part of this project. And if the county says something needs to be done on Church Road, then the city would be responsible for that.
So we will have to provide sightline diagrams and profiles of the street and meet certain criteria for speed of the road, distance to sight lines, and whether excel and decel lanes need to be provided, and those types.
Do you do traffic study, or the county would have to do some kind of traffic study, or?
There will be traffic, there will be a traffic statement that gets produced as part of our project, and those traffic counts will go into the evaluation that the county does as far as applying the requirements for our development.
I get it. It's just, I would consider it a high-risk area.
As opposed to where it is now.
Well,
As opposed to where, what is?
Correct. We have the same issue right now going down Northview.
Well, Northview and Church Road are
Right.
two completely different roads.
Have you spent time on it?
I have. I've had a business at Bowie Town Center.
50 miles an hour. We doing the same thing right now?
I've never seen anyone go 50 miles an hour on that road.
You have
Every day.
relative to your traffic study, can we ensure that it's a new study and not an outdated study? That has happened a number of times with various sites. Can we ensure that it's a new study?
There's more presentation on a couple other elements, so why don't we jump to those?
Just to give you some understanding of what the profile of the building is, we've got couple of sections, one through the ice rink and the lockers, as well as one through the lobby space, just to give you some idea of what the building profile is like. This one is coming through the ice rink. Again, the ice rink are the bigger buildings, and the locker rooms are the lower buildings. As Robert had mentioned, the locker rooms will have walls all the way to the underside of the roof. And what we do is we're going to put all of our mechanical units over there, the big mechanical units, so that it will be hidden from public view. So here's one of the rigs, and there's the other rigs, and again, here's the locker space, and you have the mechanical, gray boxes will be the mechanical units in between or above the locker spaces. Here's another section through the lobby. We wanted to have the building experience to be not just a all low, ceiling, very similar to what you have. You have a higher ceiling. We wanted to capture the similar kind of experience of a higher ceiling in the lobby space as you walk in, and then you go into a lower space, and then you go to the arenas. Let's start with the building massing. The building massing, we have a very tight budget over here, and one of our biggest challenges is to create or debox the box, I should say. And what inspiration that we have is the crystals, having sharp edges and so forth. We wanted to make this building a unique facility that has a memorable kind of experience, not your typical pre-engineered building. So what we did is creating a triangular shaped elements at the corners as well as the entry itself. And this building will have a very efficient exterior skin, and it means it's good for keeping the heat or the cooling and heating inside the building. And we wanted to create a very welcoming and inviting facility, having lots of glass, especially at the entry itself. Here's a rendition of the building aerial view from the parking as you walk in. Again, very inviting, lots of glass environment entry. Again, the corners are quite unique. It has that, very expressive forms. These elements in the glass area over here are translucent panels, so they won't cast heavy shadow on the ice rink itself. Here's the view from the entry area. And we also always look at the building during the day as well as during the night. In the evening, we envision this one as a building that glows, and you really want to go in. Now the interior spaces, we wanted to, again, to make it warm and inviting. The use of, again, as you walk in, you have the use of wood ceiling, very similar to what you have, but in a different application. Okay? It will have well lit, it will have some clear story with it, some nice graphics in the interior, and very, again, as Robert had mentioned, as you walk into this facility, you'll see all the amenities. So it will have a very good amenity engagement. You see the 2 rinks, the pro shop, the concession area, the seating area, control space. So pretty much when you walk in, you see the amenities that they can offer. Here are a couple of views of the lobby as you walk in, and here is from the skate changing area. And then the most important thing is the interior spaces, the arenas. This is a view of, again, this is conceptual view. We will have netting over here and so forth. We didn't keep that one. But this is basically what you will see in the arena. We're looking at providing some acoustical ceiling panels over there. Again, this is a LEED, our target is LEED Silver certification. So we're using LED for lighting and so forth on this facility. This is the 500-seat arena. And here's a view, very similar, 200-seat arena, but we may want to look at playing with colors, giving it a certain character and so forth. And again, to conclude, we have located the building as best as possible to accommodate the development that is sensitive to the site, not building over a wetlands, for instance. So the building is, we tried to make the building development as compact as possible to minimize impact in the site. The plan is very efficient, thanks to Robert over here. I mean, you can't get any more higher than a 95% efficiency of a facility. I mean, that is incredible. The exterior is modern and very cost effective. Again, we strive to make the interiors warm and inviting. And again, our target is LEED Silver. And we're open to additional questions if we do have any questions. Yes, ma'am.
How far outside of this facility will I be standing and still hearing noise from inside the facility? What's the zone there to hear?
I did not.
How far
I'm
outside?
concerned about the noise.
Oh, the noise?
Yeah.
Generated inside the
I've
facility?
never heard a quiet hockey game, so.
You really shouldn't hear any noise. There's an off chance that, a very off chance that somebody opens up a door and holds it, that there might be a little bit of residual noise coming about, but by all intents and purposes, there's no loud noises. It's not like a Friday night high school football game by any means. You're in a closed environment. You've got, the very nature of an ice rink means that it's got to be very well sealed for environmental reasons. By default, that means it's very well sealed for acoustical reasons. Does that make sense?
It does, but I know when I stand outside the Bowie Gym, if I'm on the other side of the street there, you can still hear the gym. So I'm just looking at that as a comparison.
Yeah, I can't speak on behalf of the gym except to say that I know on some of the side doors, I have been in the gym, I know on some of the side doors they don't have air locks. If it's possible somebody opened up a side door, for example, there's not a break at that point where sound is going to go all the way out. Whereas here there's air breaks into the the front lobby area. And all the other doors out of this facility are emergency only. So the only the only place to go in and out is the front. And that's by design. That's a good question. I've never been asked that before, but as a user, I can tell you that you really don't hear any noise outside there.
Well, it's one of a series of questions, because right now, then, much of that corridor is all residential, and now there's this big commercial entity that I'm assuming is, as best you can design it to connect to the wetlands and the family of ducks that live there, the family
Well,
of
by
foxes.
avoiding it. By avoiding it.
Pardon?
By avoiding it, not even being close to the wetlands. And the distance from the corner of the building to the backyard of the development has got to be 400 or 500 feet at
Right,
least.
it's really very, we tried
It's
to.
still just odd that there's a commercial establishment in the middle of Church Road, especially given that Church Road, at least from where I'm living, is not designed for heavy traffic. There's a killer S-curve at one end and a right-hand turn at the other that I know they're planning to connect to Church Road, but it's just odd placement to me. As Steve was saying back there, it's odd placement to me that there's going to be a commercial facility that seats 500 people, which to me accounts for several hundred cars, on a road that at this point is not designed to handle that level of traffic. So as a resident in the area, I'm quite concerned about it.
Yeah, so the bad news is, where we are now, that site selection is kind of a done deal. As we talked about, the impacts of the city's development have to go through the county planning process. And that's, what considers, hey, how are you impacting Church Road? How are you
So it's
impacting?
already zoned for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we wouldn't have selected the site unless it was.
But it does beg the question why you chose it, and nobody ever really answered that.
Well, because it was a property
The
that,
only thing that's not being said here is you're putting an ice arena in the middle of a basketball and bicycling community, because that's what you see in that whole area. It's just odd placement.
okay, yeah, but as I said, the reason why is because it was a site that the city had that fit the program that we were trying to build,
Didn't they
and it was
purchase it in
zoned appropriately.
2016?
Yeah, the person.
I'm
They
sorry?
purchased it in 2016.
Right.
It wasn't like it was sitting around.
In any event, I just wanted to be clear that, what the input that we're seeking at this stakeholders meeting isn't about the site selection, because that's done. It's more about, hey, now we're in the process of starting to design the facility. We'd love to hear the comments and inputs about the proposed design.
So I do have a question about the design. When I was reading online about this decision on September 19th and 20th, that the decision to go with the 2 ice arenas and nothing else, there were several comments made about the ability to append more other facilities onto this indoor facility. Where with the design I see here, I don't quite see how that happens. There's a lot of words given to the ability to expand that facility into something that was more that would be more of interest to maybe the community in that area.
Correct. Right, in the future, we're looking at possibly, again, if you reverse the building orientation, here's the entry over here. We are looking at ability to expand the building towards the, let's say, the east side of the building.
So one of the cities.
All right.
Could you show me what the
the
little
middle-
red dot of it
I'm
is?
sorry?
In the parking lot area.
Correct, in the parking lot area.
So one of the city's directives to us was to design the facility to accommodate future expansion.
See the two arrows? The 2 arrows kind of can help you understand where the direction of expansion could go.
Correct.
Okay, so that was my other question. There's a plot of land still behind that.
Yes,
Is that part
yes.
of your 20 acres still? Is that developed, is that land that can be developed, or is that land that's got to be preserved?
This part over here,
Yes.
there is an expansion over here. This parking will move right over here and probably some more parking.
So that was my question. The intent is to go deeper into that arena, into that space.
Correct.
For
There is
future
no
development.
future
Just
development.
to be clear on that, the city publishes its capital improvement program. And originally, we had hoped to build a more substantial facility with ice and courts, but we couldn't afford it.
$36 million was the deterrent.
The court couldn't, the expense was too much. and the council decided to build just the 2 ice. And so right now, that future expansion is not in the city's capital program. But given that the city owned the property, the idea was, well, what if in the future, you know, somebody said, hey, we want to invest some more money to expand. And we wanted to make sure, if we could, and fortunately we can, site the building in a manner that would allow for it to be extended. But currently, that's not in the city's capital program.
At what stage in the process does the traffic flow, the traffic assessment occur?
It's starting now.
Storage areas, you mentioned storage areas. So currently there are bumpers, there's a divider that is used to divide a rink into 2 smaller rinks. Would you, the storage area that you're providing, is there room to store that, or?
I'm going to defer that to Carrie. It's the old axiom that no matter how much storage you have, it's never enough. No matter what you provide, it's going to get full, all of that. There is capacity in the storage room to accommodate those types of things. But at the end of the day, chances are you have a couple of extra nets are probably going to be out because the dividers are going to be filling up and the like. We have 2 pretty substantial storage rooms back there, and they're in the neighborhood of, I want to say, 24 feet by 24 feet, somewhere in that range. So they're good size. But I don't know what other items may be needed to be stored there. I feel pretty comfortable that your dividers can go in there, some spare nets, and some other accoutrements that you need.
Well, the biggest hockey-wise is all the gear for the little guys that gets loaned out. I mean, Eric will tell you that we have a little storage area now, but it's...
Where's the storage room now in the building?
It's down on the Zamboni side.
Oh, that area, yeah. You've got, between these 2 storage rooms, you've got 6-8 times that.
Water bottle filling stations.
At the electric water coolers, they will be water bottle filled. We have actually played with and put into one of our rinks actual filling stations in the dashboard shells, and it didn't really work as well as we had hoped. We learned. I'll be the first to admit. The first rink we did, there's some things that I cringe when our boys played there. But that didn't work out so well. But we do, that's the standard now for electric water coolers to have a bottle refill.
Elevated area behind the bench for coaches.
Were you here when I first started talking, or did you happen to miss that? The reason for that is, yes, because not only is it elevated as it should be, it's actually barrier free compliant. So can I use a point again? So what you've got here is, this is actually a ramp getting up back here. So in this team box, you can't see very well. The player's feet would be here, as you know. Here's the bench for the players. This is a step up, then there's another step up for the coaches. That area back to there is actually 5 feet so that a wheelchair-bound or otherwise physically handicapped or disabled individual can be a coach back there and be in an elevated stand behind the players and have the capacity he or she needs to be up there. So yes, long answer to a simple question, yes. They can also get in the scorer's table and can work the penalty boxes.
Okay, and I saw this part of it, some of the invite. I'm guessing that access is from off the ice to all the areas.
I'm sorry, I missed that?
I'm guessing that access to the penalty box and scores is from off ice, correct?
Penalty box is from ice with another access off from the non-ice. Scorer's box is off ice. I've worked the box and had to go onto the ice. That's never a good idea.
Especially right after the Zam's been off.
Yeah.
Locker room sizes in comparison to what there is now.
Twice what they've got now. Yeah, you might have missed that part.
You taped it out on the lobby floor.
There's the locker room layout itself we've done in multiple rinks before they were built. Did you miss my spiel about being a hockey dad?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Been in there. These work. Trust me, these sizes work. You won't be disappointed. Conventional detailing there as far as materiality too. It's actually not dissimilar from what you've got now. It's recycled plastic lumber used for benches. Very durable, attractive. Literally, if the skates cut it up, you can get out a hot dryer, for example, to do the 2-piece sticks. Heat it up, brush it out. It looks good again. Brackets are off the floor. They're not floor mounted. So maintenance crew can scrub underneath there, hooks on the wall. The one thing we do different than what is there now is we angle our hooks, and they have little Hilti knobs on the top. So it's easier to put stuff on, very durable. We painted out an accent color to match the benches, wainscoting paint, so it feels attractive. You might have a red one, a blue one, a green locker room, whatever it ends up being. So it's very durable, very practical.
Shelf over the hooks or just hooks?
We don't typically do the shelves. We can talk about that. Why we don't recommend them is it's something that is hard to brace off to prevent kids from ripping down.
Yeah.
Hooks in the walls, we grout that concrete block core solid. So when they're anchoring it in, it's anchored in into 8 inches of solid concrete, if you will. That's not coming out. A shelf is harder.
Are you gonna have additional community meetings, or will the next time you have something like this be at the hearing stage?
We've got council meetings scheduled, or will be scheduled at the end of January.
I'm glad you remember.
Yeah.
So what, I'm sorry, so
We have a council meeting that will be scheduled at the end of January to present the project at the end of schematic design.
do you anticipate that you'll be submitting your mandatory review referral package before then, or are you gonna wait for that? Or
It'll be after that.
after that?
When you break ground, what is your time frame? I mean, I know there's a big process to get to the point of breaking ground, but it's more than a year.
It's
Isn't it like early next year?
early next,
Not next, I'm sorry, I'm already in 18, early 19?
early in 19, I believe, is when we were looking to bid and break ground, and then it would be about a 16-month construction period. So- Yes, sir.
And how does this project get funded?
So this is a city of Bowie funded project.
Were you given a cost objective, and what are you doing to see that you meet that objective?
Can you explain the question a little
In
more?
other words, there's a fixed city budget for this project. So the question is, did you pass along to the designers what that cost is? And what are you doing to manage your cost control to make sure that that cost is met?
Yes, sir. We absolutely have. Our designers have a design to number, and that design to number is the project budget less a lot of other known costs. And so absolutely we are very conscious. They know that I kind of bring this up every meeting we have. We got to meet the budget.
George, I'm Kiva Rodriguez, project manager from Hill International, and actually what we've been doing is working in concert with Hughes Group and cross-checking the design along with the actual project cost itself, and making sure that we don't leave anything out and that we're being quite realistic with the cost items.
And each of our deliverables includes a cost estimate based on the documents that are getting produced.
Well, I don't see any other hands. There's
What
an hand.
happens to the current site when you go down?
So there has not yet been a decision about that. It will not continue to operate as an ice arena. That's the only decision we know. Yes, sir.
My main listed because it's already here today, but is this facility able to be like a multi-use facility, or is it specifically related for hockey? Because I know nowadays a lot of modern facilities are multi-use, but I'm not really seeing this in the diagram, so that's the question.
Well, it's for ice. Are you asking if there will other sports other than
Yes.
hockey or ice skating?
Sports
or
can be multi-use lecture rooms.
This is a part of this question, a good one for Karen Rainey and the staff, but the idea is there's such a demand that this is going to be needed to be occupied, both sheets for ice for the vast majority of the year. Now, that's not to say sometimes in some facilities, those are opportunities for a insulated slab to put down, or if it's going to be a long enough downtime to have a dry floor activity, the ice couldn't be melted for that activity. I mean, they turn Madison Square Garden crazy number of hours into a dry floor activity or concert or otherwise. That can be done here, but I think the program right now is predicated on the fact that the vast majority of the time it's going to be needed for ice. Is that a fair assessment, Carrie?
That's correct.
Nothing else, I want to, oh, there's,
Pardon my tardiness, I was on the ice, that's where I was late. Concession area and waiting area, would you give a slide for that?
Front door, concession area is here, and then the lobby will have different types of seating for waiting.
So there's no seating available for the game that is not ice side? So there's no like warming area that you can still view the game
From the end and from here, but there's nothing along the sides of the rink.
And no plan for like a second tier to be able to watch from above or anything?
No.
Second floors and bathrooms are very, very expensive because of the building codes.
Just fun.
Yeah. It effectively costs about $150,000 to $200,000 just to get people up. That's not even building anything, that's just elevators and stairs, and then we have firewalls, and it's cost prohibitive. We used to do them a lot, and they're just too cost prohibitive now.
Sounds
Still another question?
Is there just a projection of, this is a pretty in-depth question, and you may not be able to answer right now, just exactly how many, jobs they could bring you into our local area to help out with that? Not saying that there's necessarily a need for it, it always helps to, jobs with us.
the question was, what economic impact, what, kind of jobs that a facility like this might bring. And I'm not able to answer that, and that was.
I can do a little bit. I can help you out a little bit here. Specific to the rink, there are a number of jobs, but it's like a lot of development, and this is how it really is an impetus, because again, I'm putting on, and if you were a little late, you probably didn't hear, my wife was in the audience as well. We have 2 boys that played growing up. We live the life that some of these people live here, where you go to tournaments nearly every weekend or every other weekend. You're going to another community. You're getting a hotel for 2 nights, maybe 3. You're eating 2-3 meals a day for 3 days. You're at the gas station. In between, you're shopping because you've got to still maintain your house and you've got to have Christmas presents or the like. So there's a tremendous residual effect out of a facility like this for the local businesses. Much more so than the actual number of jobs that are going to be in the building, which is not insignificant. Does that help answer your question? Okay.
Carrie, can you just, how many employees does a single sheet have?
I'm sorry,
How many employees do you have as a single sheet?
right now,
Yeah, just as.
just employees?
Yeah.
Roughly 15.
Yeah, I mean, not including the
So we're taking
independent
15.
contractors.
A lot of our kids, buoy kids that come in and work at the facility, so you'll have a second sheet of ice, and more kids, people that help actually in the facility too.
Yeah, just jobs in the facility, you're talking skate guards, people to watch the ice during public sessions, concession area, pro shop help, Zamboni operators or surfacing operators.
We have high school age kids, college kids, adults.
Yeah.
So we've been here 1 hour. I don't see any other hands pop up. I just want to thank everybody. Some great questions. I think one guy came armed with questions on his phone. So appreciate the input. We've taken a lot of notes. And as I said at the beginning, we'll consider all your input as we advance this project forward. Question from
Real quick, how feasible or expensive would it be to turn Allen's Pond into a basketball, racquetball situation?
Yeah, so that one of the reasons the decision hasn't been made, actually, the city did hire this same team here to do an analysis of the existing facility. Council asked us to do that. And unfortunately, the cost, the structure of that facility has outlived its life. And so the structural costs to maintain that facility are probably so significant that it's going to be really challenging to do something like that. But again, we haven't, a decision hasn't been made. We just know that if we do want to do something, it's going to be pretty pricey.
George, let me jump in real quick. So I'm Michael Mullen, City Councilman. So the reason why we're ultimately going with 2 sheets of ice, the city has been debating now for almost a decade what to do with new amenities in the city, right? We know there's demand for courts, we know there's demand for ice, we know there's demand for aquatics. We had a referendum on aquatics a few years ago, lost by a big margin, so we jettisoned that one. Prior to my being on the council wanted to do both ice and courts, right, to meet the demands of both facilities. Someone pointed out earlier, it became so cost prohibitive to the city, which only has a $55 million annual budget, to build, $40 million facility. It couldn't be done. So then, earlier this year, we went back to the drawing board, and the question we had, because it was sort of unanswered how much longer our existing ice rink had, how many more years of life it had. So an inspector went in, did an inspection, concluded that for us to basically just spend the money to fix the existing ice rink, we were looking at basically raising the building and starting over, because it was so old. Right, it was just not going to be structurally sound for much longer. So given that, we were presented the option with just building a new ice rink on top of the existing one for $22 million, building the dual rinks for $24 million, which is $2 million more, or pursuing some combined ice court facility down the road at, I don't remember what, $20 million or something along those lines. We went with the dual ice strictly because we were going to lose our existing ice program. So for us, it wasn't just a matter of introducing a brand new amenity that previously didn't exist. It was a matter of replacing the existing amenity. And the reason why some of us supported the dual ice as opposed to one is because we were confident that by fully satisfying the demand for the ice, we could potentially actually bring down our existing operating costs through achieving new efficiencies, through additional fees, through new programs. So that's why we ended up going with this. It's not that we hate basketball. We certainly recognize that there is demand for those. But this was more important for us in the short term because we recognized we were potentially losing our existing ice program. I think all of us agree that down the road, we want to keep an open mind being able to expand on this, and I'm really glad that was brought up. We fully anticipate down the road looking at adding additional courts down the road and expanding on this. But that's the reason we went with the dual ice for the time being. And as George pointed out, the existing facility is going to need so much money for use for anything. It would be the equivalent of basically building a whole new facility. So that's where we are. What will likely happen is the old facility space will just get wrapped up into the new master plan for Allen Pond, which is being redesigned, and that's most likely what's going to happen with that facility. So to answer your question, and I'm happy to get up cards later if anyone wants to talk.
Good question. So is the $55 million specifically for this project or the entire city?
The entire city of Bowie's annual budget is $55 million.
And how much was this?
This is $24 million.
24, okay.
Yeah, which will be paid for mostly with issue of debt.
There's real economies of scale with a double versus a single. You can imagine, once you establish the fact that the demographics support the need for the second sheet, so you got a pretty good need for it, then what happens is for example, you have a 2-compressor system running the whole building for a single. You'll have a 3 for the second sheet. Instead of having 12 people working at full capacity, you might have 15 people, but you're getting the double revenue. So there's a lot of studies out there proving that a double is much more economically viable than a single as long as you have the demand. Plus, now they can actually schedule and run tournaments. You really can effectively run a tournament with a single sheet. Once you have that second one, you can schedule a tournament whenever you want, and you capture all that revenue. Not only for the facility in the city, but again, for all the businesses in town. It's a big boom.
Well, again, I'd like to thank you again for your input. I'd like to thank our design team. I think the city has a really good design team, very talented group. I hope you like what you saw, and I wish you the best evening.